Hello everyone, we have a game with the black pieces against Kane, rated 11-13. We have a Caro-Kann on the board, where we start with c6 in order to support the pawn push d5, creating a pawn presence in the center. He takes and we take back. This is what we were going for. Now we have a pawn in the center. White also goes d4 with a pawn in the center himself. I'm simply going to develop my queen's knight to the square it definitely wants to be, hitting the center. White goes bishop b3. It doesn't threaten anything, it just solidifies his center. The downside is it undefends his pawn, so maybe your queen can apply some pressure. For example, queen b6 hits the pawn, potentially a little annoying. But I'm going to hold off on that. I'm just going to develop my knight, maybe threaten to attack the bishop. Just look at the center for the time being. He develops his bishop, which pins the knight. Maybe we'll put added pressure, also prepares castling. That's a fair move. I think in this specific case, now that he put his bishop on this square, I'm going to bring my queen out to this diagonal and apply pressure to the bishop. Do I want to give the check or do I want to aim at the b2 pawn? If I give the check, he has to bring the knight out. And I kind of like the fact that his knight's in front of his c pawn, so he can't play c4. So let's go queen a5 check, forcing the knight to this square. Fine. Now that it's on that square, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to force him to resolve the issue, either take or leave. And in that way, any future knight e5s won't add pressure to the pin. So he takes and we're forced to take. And he castles, which unpins his knight. He also potentially can go here in the future, attacking our pawn. So with all of these things in mind, I want to develop and pin this knight that could potentially cause us problems from the center in the future. And I might even take it so that I don't have to worry about the e5 square. So he goes a3. I don't know, is he trying to play b4? I'm not really sure. Bit of a weird move. Maybe he is trying to clamp down so I don't ever get in c5. It's possible. But for the time being, I don't really care. I really just want to develop in castles, so let's go e6. We have this little pawn chain. We open up our bishop. Now he hits our queen. You could sack a piece for 2 pawns. It also hits the knight. Then he retreats the knight. Is it worth it? Probably not. So let's not do that. Where do we want to move our queen? I mean, c7 looks like a really nice square because it controls a really strong diagonal. So let's do that. And I like black's position. We're going to get our bishop out, aim at the king, castle, and then play for either e5 or c5 or a5. All 3 of these pawn breaks on the 5th rank will help open up the position, will help equalize space. Okay, so knight a4, the idea is to cement the knight on the c5 square, which is a nice outpost for him. It makes a lot of sense. The downside, undefends the center. So what do we want to do? We have options. We can just develop for free. We could throw our knight into the center, which counters his knight and also looks at some juicy squares. I'm going to develop a new piece. If he just hops his knight in here nonchalantly, we could take the knight and win a pawn. Okay, so he doesn't fall for that. He goes g3, blunting the diagonal, with the huge downside of weakening his light squares, and I'm the only one with a light square bishop. So that's a little bit suspicious. Okay, well, Now we also can hit the rook whenever we want. Clear the square for our knight. Hmm. Do I want to hit the rook now? Do I ever care about king g2? Because if he goes king g2, I can't go bishop h3. Although I could just launch my pawn up the board. If I leave the pin, the knight can move again. Hmm. I just want to play e5. Takes, takes, bishop here. And my king is still in the center. So let's castle first. I want to just get an e5. I don't want to move my bishop just yet. I don't care if he goes king g2. Okay, so he moves his bishop to a more active post to challenge our stuff. But doesn't this just hang material? We get a bishop, he has to take, we get the pawn with devastating effect. That just loses the game. He was playing so well. Because you don't just lose the pawn. This hits this twice, and you can't defend it twice unless you bring your king up. So this is just terrible. Although once you bring your king up, what's the final blow? I mean, you could win more stuff. You could take this guy. You could trade queens. You could just hop your knight in the center. Maybe you could push. He takes. What's the point of that? There's none. So he does do this, but it looks wrong. What if I just keep the pin and open up that square? And then he does something, and then I give this check. He has to go back. Then you win the knight. But if I go here and he plays h3, then what? Well then, I mean, then I get to turn back, and it's as if nothing happened, and I'll just make a different move. And it gives him the entire chance of playing any legal move on the board other than h3, and at no cost or downside to me, right? Like if he plays h3, it's not like, oh man, his position's got so much better, it's such an improvement. It's nothing, right? And then I get to turn back, and my bishop's actually nice here, freeing up this thing. And if he doesn't see it, like he just attacks the rook, well then we could win the knight. We don't really care about the exchange because we're still winning material. We're already up material. So let's give this check. He has to go here. I would love to take with the bishop instead of the queen. So can we arrange that? For example, what if we don't take the knight immediately and go here? The knight is still pinned. Now he can't defend it with anything. And if we take with this thing, it's going to be checkmate. Or we win the queen. So if we go queen h3, he can't take our rook. I mean, who cares about this stuff? But what if he goes knight g1, countering our queen? We get a queen, he gets a queen. That's lame. So here he counters our queen. Bishop check, he just takes it. Fine. We'll just take this. Check. And now he can't even take our rook because it came with check. So this really doesn't make sense. This is a blunder. He has to go back. Now you could do whatever you want. I mean, Let's just hop the knight in the center because it's a close quarter fighter. Our position looks awesome. Sure, you never got in the positional c5, and you never will. But that's okay because that's not the only thing. There's 64 squares on the chessboard. There's more than one idea, you know? So he puts his knight here. Let's just take it off the board. We're up everything. Whichever way he takes is bad for him. You either open the rook or give us more passed pawns in the center. So it's win-win for us. His king is cut off, so we just leave the bishop here. Nice and easy. Very strong piece on an outpost. He takes this way so he doesn't open the rook, but now we could just launch our pawns up the board. There's nothing to play for here as white. We're up a bishop and a pawn, which is GG. But the position's also like dominating. You can see there's no avenue for counterplay for him, so it's not so good. Let's just keep launching our central pawns, right? Creating space for our rooks. I mean, you could do whatever you want here. We'll just create as much space as possible. His rooks can't use, you know, some light squares in his position. It's really annoying for him. It's like it's just not fun to be white here. You just kind of want to resign. This move makes less than no sense because now we get to improve for free, and your rook has to leave. Oh, okay. Well, if he's going to give up the rook for the bishop, that makes our life a lot easier. He wants to move his king, but where are you going, sir? We're going to infiltrate and go rook e2. The whole point of getting a rook on an open file is to infiltrate one of the 4 points on your opponent's side. Ideally, one of the last 2 is usually the strongest. So, I mean, that's what it is. So, that's what we do. Okay, he's pushing pawns, but I don't understand the point. You don't have to respond. You can take, you can push. Everything's winning. You're up a rook, so the easiest thing would be to try to take his rook. But since we do have this d pawn, I mean, let's at least put it on d2. Since everything defends everything, you know, it doesn't require assistance. And now he's got a 4-on-2, which is his one asset, but oh, now he's trying to trade. This is terrible for him. I mean, I'm up a rook. I don't really care. I don't care about the best move, this and that. Just let's get it going. We'll just cover this pawn, and then that way his king can't do anything. And we just shuffle our king over. Which way? Let's take this way. Takes that way, we take this way. We're up a rook, it doesn't matter which way you take, right? And then we just shuffle the king over. Nice and easy win. 48 seconds, plenty of time because he has no pieces, so I don't have to think, oh, what are the forward moves of this piece or whatever. We don't care if he takes every single one of our pawns because you can just checkmate with a king and a rook, right? So don't start stressing, how do I defend 40 seconds? It doesn't really matter. Now we could just lift our king up because everything defends everything. Now his king is in zugzwang, has to move to the side. We bully it, right? We bully it. We cut it off so it has nowhere to go. We do not stalemate him. That was close. We bully him. We go here. He goes there. We give him 1 square. Oh no, we need to give him 2 squares. Yeah, 2 squares. We want him to have this and this to shuffle between. We'll just go here. I mean, you could checkmate with rook and king, but a queen's a queen. We have 10 seconds, but that's more than enough time. We just do the ladder checkmate or automatic checkmate. Thanks to the construction. We win with 13 seconds, plenty of time. Let's go through the game. We get a Caro-Kann on the board, which is center and development in a weird way. He takes, so force move. Development and center. Center and development. Development and center because it counters the bishop, which is countering the knight. All for free because it's check. What do I got? 96% accuracy. That works. We hit the bishop, trying to force matters. You don't have to do this, but I just want to see what he does. So now we're forced to take. I thought he was going to jump his knight in, try to put some pressure. That's normally what they do. And then you have your bishop here, your rook here. You kind of just throw your pieces in. You challenge the knight later on with like knight backwards or something. But he didn't do any of that. He just castles, which is a logical move. And then we just develop and center. Center and development. And the position's equal. You know, it's playable for both sides. It's just a normal position. He hits our queen, which looks a little weird to me, but that's fine. We improve our queen. It did its job on a5. He already castled. Now this diagonal looks correct. Development, center, and it comes with threats. He sees this, but I don't like this move at all. And black's better. So king safety and development. And he just loses the entire game. It goes from -1 to -6 because not only do we win this pawn, but then we have the winning pin. So it's just a complete blunder. And what's the logic between of challenging this diagonal once you already played g3? You already did it, your job, right? You shut us down. These pieces, I'm not going to sack here, right? So you don't need to challenge the diagonal, so it's a little weird. It also loses the game. He defends. Oh yeah, I looked at this move, but I didn't look at the follow-up move. I didn't consider checkmate. Whoops. So I guess if he goes here, you just kind of win an exchange automatically. It's -7. So hold on, what did I play? Okay, so bishop back. They're calling that a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's just not the best move. They had a fancier move than me. So my -3.2, completely winning position, they want to call it a mistake. So if I go here, I mean, I don't know. Let's say he goes here. That's going to lead to mate. So let's say he goes here. Maybe just take the rook. Whatever, man. Why go down that? You're not even sure how it ends unless you want to like sit there and think about it. This makes way more sense. This makes way more sense. Boom, bop. And look, he has to play h3, which is what we spoke about, but he didn't find it. It's still completely losing, and we would have got the turn back. So it goes from -3.2 to -6.4, exactly double. We give the check. We take the knight. Another check. Free stuff, free stuff, free stuff. Improving a piece. Liquidating because it's a winning endgame. Pushing in the center, past pawns. Pushing in the center, past pawns. Pushing in the center, past pawns. Pushing for free. free stuff, and then you could win any number of ways. A lot of you guys feel way more comfortable getting your king in. You feel safer, and it is safer, but it's not as accurate a lot of times because it's so slow. A lot of times you could just use your pieces to win these games. You don't have to involve your king. Um, so yeah, just another way to play the Caro-Kann. I showed some ideas, but we'll keep climbing the ladder and see how stronger opponents challenge us. Good luck in your chess. I will see you in the next one.